From historic Star Park in Coronado, California, and San Diego's Marine Corps Recruiting Depot, this is a special presentation of Memorial Day Services 2020, brought to you by the Coronado Memorial Day Committee and the City of Coronado.
On behalf of the Military Officers Association of America, United States Navy League, Marine Corps League, and the Coronado Detachment of Veterans of Foreign Wars, we will begin the Memorial Day service. Mrs. Jo Beth Cosgrove will now sing the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, was so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, those bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Captain Michael Foskett, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy, will now read the invocation.
Let us pray. Almighty Father, in this time of national sacrifice, we pause today to remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Remember those who died on the beaches of Normandy, the black sands of Iwo Jima, in the cold mountains of Korea, the steamy jungles and deltas of Vietnam, in the deserts of Kuwait, on the streets of Iraq, and in the poppy fields of Afghanistan. We also remember those who bear the awful pride of losing the loved ones in war. We choose to remember the fallen and those left behind because we are grateful. Grateful for men and women who sacrifice themselves to stand against those who threaten the freedoms of Americans and our friends all over the world. And while we cannot come together to express our gratefulness in person, we do so now in spirit. In your mighty name I pray. Amen.
Colonel Christian Ellinger, the United States Marine Corps, will now deliver General Logan's General Order Number 11.
As many as 25 places claim holding the first Memorial Day, but Waterloo, New York is given official recognition as the birthplace of what was then called Decoration Day. They held their first service on May 5th, 1866, honoring local veterans who lost their lives in the war between the states. Major General John A. Logan, the commander of a national organization of Union veterans called the Grand Army of the Republic, took these local observances nationwide on May 5th, 1868, when his General Order Number 11 was published. I will now read General Logan's General Order Number 11. Firstly, the 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but post and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and Marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes. Their soldier lives were the reveille of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All the consecrated wealth and taste of a nation can add to their adornment, and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed ground. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no vandalism or avarice or neglect nor ravages of time testify to the present or the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull and other hands slack and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of life remains to us. Let us, at a time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us in this solemn presence renew our pledges to aid and assist those who have left among us a sacred charge upon the nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. Secondly, it is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year, while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Lastly, department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective. Signed, N.P. Chapman, Adjutant General, by order of Major General John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mayor Richard Bailey of the City of Coronado.
Whereas, this free country honors its war dead from the Civil War and the foreign conflicts that have taken place in every corner of the world in its fight against tyranny, aggression, and terrorism, fighting to liberate, not to conquer. And whereas it's our solemn duty to remember the brave Americans from all corners of the United States and the service personnel from our own community who are serving and have served, and the many who have made the supreme sacrifice in giving their lives, even as flags are folded and presented to the widows and families. And whereas Coronado continues to have an enduring, robust, and treasured relationship with its neighboring military bases, and whereas this thankful community and its civic organizations gathered to pay tribute to the veterans of foreign war, Post 2422, the Silver Strand chapter of the Military Officers Association of America, and the Coronado Council of the Navy League of the United States, salute those who have gone to eternity and join us in a silent prayer to salute our fallen heroes and comrades in arms. Now therefore, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Coronado, I do hereby proclaim and recognize May 25th, 2020 as Memorial Day throughout the City of Coronado.
Mayor Bailey, on behalf of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Military Officers Association of America, the Coronado Council of the United States Navy League, Marine Corps League Detachment Coronado, and those who've gone before us, we thank you, the City Council, and the citizens of Coronado for your recognition.
My name is Moki Martin. I'm a retired Navy SEAL, and I think Memorial Day is very special to me, like it is for all veterans that have served in any kind of war, from World War II on through Korea, and for me, the Vietnam War. It's a special day where we think about those we have lost, who have given their lives for freedom and in defense of this country. It's also a special day where I get to think about them, think about the times I've had with them on all our operations and all our get-togethers and reunions, and to laugh and to have a few beers. It's just a great day in remembrance of all these guys. I've lost 49 friends in the SEAL teams and the UDT teams, and I knew every one of them, and I think about all of them, whenever I can. And today is that special day for them. I'm just glad to be here to say a few words about them.
Lieutenant Commander Mike Turner, United States Navy retired, will now deliver the scripture passage, the 23rd Psalm.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mrs. Jo Beth Cosgrove will now lead us in the salute to services.
Please stand at home while your service song is played.
Colonel Ellinger will now recognize our active duty veterans and introduce our guest speaker.
It's hard to believe that the September 11th, 2001 attacks on our country happened almost 2 decades ago. Recently at the Marine Recruit Depot in San Diego, we experienced a milestone, receiving recruits who have been born after September 11th. To all the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and my fellow Marines who have deployed after September 11th, 2001 and fought in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, to those that raised their hand and said, "Send me, I'll go." Thank you, and Semper Fidelis. Today's guest of honor is Brigadier General Ryan P. Heritage. General Heritage was commissioned a second lieutenant in 1990 after graduating from George Washington University. As a career infantry officer, General Heritage has commanded at the platoon, company, battalion, and regimental levels. Currently, General Heritage serves as the commanding general of the Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego and the Western Recruiting Region. He is also an honorary member of the Marine Corps League's Coronado Detachment. Ladies and gentlemen, General Heritage.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for dialing in virtually today. Once again, thanks to the Coronado Memorial Day Committee for the honor and privilege to address you on such a solemn and important occasion, and to the Silver Strand chapter of the Military Officers Association of America and the Veterans of Foreign Wars as the sponsors. So I kept the mask on for the quick introduction, and I asked to deliver my comments from this specific location purposefully, for 3 specific reasons. First, to reinforce how important it is that despite the challenges we are all dealing with in this pandemic, that we still commit ourselves to taking a moment and pausing to reflect on those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice, and to their families for their service to the country. And second, with the depot as the backdrop, I'm able to visibly make the connection between Coronado's history and that as the recruit depot, simply by pointing out that the first commanding officer here aboard the depot was, in fact, you could call him the founder, was Colonel Joseph Pendleton, who would go on to retire as Major General Pendleton, live on Coronado, and serve as the 19th mayor, along with other legends who share a similar history with Coronado, such as Chesty Puller, John McCain, and Admiral Stockdale. And I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight the monument behind me, known as the Known Marine Memorial, representing the commitment and sacrifice. The Known Marine Memorial was conceived by Sergeant Major Paxton in honor of his friend Gunnery Sergeant Roper, who paid the ultimate sacrifice, killed in action during Vietnam. Sergeant Major Paxton, I hope you're watching today. So let me start the body of my remarks by welcoming and thanking the Gold Star mothers, wives, and families. You have my utmost thanks and gratitude. My family and I will always be indebted to you. Also, a special thanks to the city officials and staff, general and flag officers, first responders, family, and friends. Thank you for taking the time to dial in. So what is one Marine's perspective on Memorial Day, particularly under these conditions? I'll try to provide that by reflecting on a recent news story I heard the other day, in which the guest discussed his study of cities and towns throughout America and their history of suffering and rebounding during crisis. He highlighted the 1918 pandemic and the Depression. He went on to talk about the impact of these horrible events on individuals, families, businesses, society, and life in general. He effectively described that despite such conditions and tragedy, for the most part, these cities rebounded and in many cases flourished, even though some had to reinvent themselves. And I was on board with his comments up until the point in which he stated and compared current conditions we're under as living in purgatory. But there was something different. There was a doubt in his voice as our ability to rebound. I then scanned the news and headlines a couple days ago, some of which read, "For workers, no sign of what normal is going to look like. America's cities fear the future. American divide." In both the news interview to which I listened to, as well as these articles, the absence of any discussion regarding resolve or sacrifice was clearly noticeable. I felt as if the authors were underestimating the resolve of the individual American and America collectively. Memorial Day is set aside for us to remember the ultimate sacrifice paid by those in uniform, but it also speaks to our resiliency. For without the willingness to sacrifice, we cannot be resilient. Don't underestimate America. past or present generations. From the Battle of Antietam to Belleau Wood and the Argonne, from Tarawa and Iwo Jima to the Battle of Bloody Ridge and the Punch Bowl in Korea, to Hue City and Khe Sanh in Vietnam, to Fallujah, Ramadi, and Sangin in Afghanistan. Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen and women have lived, fought, and died in what I'm sure many envisioned as their purgatory, whether that lasted for minutes, hours, or days, or for some who were never able to escape the horrors of that purgatory even after they came home. No matter their race, religion, or gender, every one of these service members had one thing in common: raising their hand, taking an oath, and sacrificing for something greater than themselves. If you recall, when I started my remarks, I said there were 3 reasons I chose to speak from this location. However, I only listed 2. I know some of you are thinking he's a Marine, he's got his boots on, so he lost count, but I didn't. The first reason was to reinforce that no matter what the restrictions on movement during the pandemic, we need to pause and reflect on such a day. The second was to highlight the connection between the depot, the Marine Corps, and the Coronado community. The third reason, that despite the challenges faced by every generation, whether it be war, depression, or a pandemic, the young men and women of this great country are still raising their hands to swear an oath that is greater than themselves. And by standing here today, aboard this recruit depot, talking to those who have served, talking to those who live and breathe in a military community, I hope you can see the generation passing behind me, or even hear some of the training going on, all of which proves my point. During the first national commemoration on Memorial Day, former Union General and Ohio Congressman James Garfield delivered a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, after which 5,000 participants helped to decorate the graves of more than 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers who were buried there. At that initial commemoration, James Garfield said, "We do not know one promise these men made, one pledge they gave, one word they spoke, but we do know they summed up and perfected by one supreme act, the highest virtue of men and citizens. For love of country, they accepted death and thus resolved all doubts and made immortal their patriotism and their virtue." As I travel the Western United States in my recruiting mission, and as I stand here today observing the drill instructors and recruits, that sense of sacrifice, of commitment, is not lost in any of our military services. In closing, I do have an ask for you all, and that's to be an advocate. So what do I mean? When my kids were old enough to go to school, part of our school selection criteria at whatever duty station we were at was to first, do they say the Pledge of Allegiance? And second, do they celebrate and recognize Veterans Day and Memorial Day? So as we, a grateful nation, remember the sacrifice and celebrate the lives of the fallen, be an advocate. Continue to educate folks on the importance of today. Continue to remember and celebrate the sacrifice associated with this day. For without it, we cannot be resilient. Once again, I would like to recognize the Gold Star families listening in and to thank the community and the event organizers and all of the volunteers for your continued support to all of the military services. Thank you for helping Coronado continue with an important military tradition. God bless, and Semper Fidelis. So don't let anybody say that there's a difference between this generation and that generation. Never underestimate America. Never underestimate an individual American. Certainly never underestimate a Marine. Good to go?
Yes, sir!
That's why we're out here today. I appreciate it. Congratulations on earning the title. Semper Fi.
Sir!
Thank you very much, Brigadier General Heritage. We deeply appreciate your presence here today.
Hi, I'm Terry Loudon, a longtime Coronado resident. My father was a career Air Force pilot. He flew 64 bomber missions over Germany in World War II, twice on D-Day, flew in the Korean War, and twice in Vietnam. So I grew up honoring veterans, and I love Coronado. One of the reasons I moved here is because of all the veterans. And this Memorial Day is very, very special, even more special because of what's going on in America right now. And all the veterans who had no fear fighting in wars, we need to all take on their no fear attitude right now. So God bless all the veterans. God bless America, and God bless Coronado.
We'll now recognize our fallen with tributes. I will read each tribute that was submitted. On behalf of the Auxiliary, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, Madam President places this emblem of eternity. The blue flowers bespeak life everlasting. Thus do we immortalize the brave deeds of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have given their lives on land, on sea, and in the air. The Veterans of Foreign Wars make tribute on behalf of our glorious Republic, whose integrity our comrades enlisted and served. The commander places the flag of the nation. The flag of our country was theirs to defend. Its glorious colors shall wave over them in death as in life for everyone to behold. The members of the Silver Strand chapter of Military Officers Association of America present the tribute in honor of all Gold Star mothers and Gold Star wives, and in the memory of the Armed Forces members we personally knew who gave and are still giving their lives that we might live in peace and freedom. We salute those who have gone before as well as who are carrying America's torch today. The Coronado Council of the United States Navy League remember the sacrifices of the Navy and Marine Corps warriors, those men and women who fought and won as band of brothers. Flags are folded for our many service warriors who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Our hearts and prayers are with them as we remember with this simple tribute, a wreath, and salute their gallant service to their great land of liberty and freedom. The Marine Corps League Coronado Detachment makes their tribute to fallen Marines. From the halls of Montezuma to the mountains of Afghanistan, United States Marines have made the ultimate sacrifice for our great nation. We'll never forget your honor, courage, and commitment to your fellow Marines. You were with us then, and you are with us now. Your selfless dedication to duty allows us to prosper as a nation today. We'll make this tribute to our fallen brothers and sisters of the United States Marine Corps. Semper Fidelis. Naval Special Warfare Team's tribute. We honor all those who have served and fallen in Naval Special Warfare in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraqi War, and Afghanistan War. Included are the Scouts and Raiders, the Naval Combat Demolition Teams, the Underwater Demolition Teams, the SEAL Teams, the Boat Support Units, and the Special Warfare Combatant Crewmen. From Normandy beaches, the Pacific Islands, the Incheon Landing, the Vietnam Delta, the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan, the Frogmen, SEALs, and Special Warfare Combatant Crewmen have carried their special operations to the enemy. Trained on the beaches of Coronado and Little Creek, Virginia, these warriors have made the conscious decision to put other lives ahead of their own. They have bravely answered their nation's call and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Today, we honor you by paying tribute to every member of Naval Special Warfare that has given the ultimate sacrifice. Hearty hoo-yahs, teammates. Gold Star Mothers. We have 2 Gold Star mothers in our community, Commander Kate Crone and Mrs. Beth Kavner. Navy Ensign Christopher Crone died September 6, 2000 when his T-37 crashed near Vance Air Force Base. He grew up in Coronado and was a 1995 graduate of Coronado High School. He is part of the NROTC unit at the George Washington University, where he received his degree and commission. His parents are Ted and Kay Crone, who are both retired Navy commanders. Commander Crone, a Gold Star mother, is here today to honor her son and all those who have lost their lives in service to their country. Chief Special Warfare Operator Bradley S. Kavner, 31, of Coronado, California, died from injuries sustained during an accident while conducting parachute jump training operations in El Centro, California. Gold Star Wives. We have 4 Gold Star wives in our community. Mrs. Terry Gardella, Mrs. Kathy Prout, Mrs. Teresa Jones, and Mrs. Brooke Clark Keating. We cannot express enough our heartfelt gratitude for the sacrifices their family have blessed us with. Specialist 4 Harold Hedden, Harold C. Hedden Jr., was drafted into the U.S. Army shortly after college graduation in 1968. He was sent to Vietnam early in 1969. Specialist 4 Harden was in Company D, 3rd Battalion, Airborne, 187th Infantry. He was mortally wounded during intensive fighting in the Battle of Hamburger Hill, May 4, 1969. He was awarded the Bronze Star and the Silver Star for his bravery during this battle. Rear Admiral James G. Prout III, known as Jay, was born in Boston, Massachusetts on January 21, 1944, and grew up in Andover, Massachusetts. On May 17, 1995, two F-18 Hornets left Miramar Naval Air Station en route to St. Louis, Missouri, carrying Rear Admiral J. Prout in the back seat of one of the jets. The plane he was in crashed, killing both the pilot and Rear Admiral Prout. At the time of his death, he was commander of Cruiser Destroyer Group 3 with the USS Carl Vinson as his flagship. The Admiral graduated from the prestigious Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, the Naval Academy, and Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. He served in Vietnam, where he operated with Navy SEALs in Operation Game Warden on the Nha Tran River. He was injured by a rocket-propelled grenade shrapnel in the throat and the chest while on a SEAL UDT mission, receiving the Purple Heart and Bronze Star with a Combat V. He became an admiral in 1993 and served as Deputy Chief of Staff for the Commander of the Pacific Fleet in Hawaii. Rear Admiral Prout's banner was the first to be displayed on Coronado's Avenue of Heroes. Chief Special Warfare Operator Charles Keating IV, husband, son, brother. Charles Humphrey Keating IV, intimately known as C4, from Coronado, California, was a decorated Navy SEAL who gave the ultimate sacrifice on May 3, 2016, defending his brothers in Tel Ascuf, Iraq. He was a fierce warrior who fought ISIS on the front lines in Iraq as part of the Quick Reaction Force that responded to a request for help from a small group of U.S. forces between Peshmerga and ISIS forces. The ISIS force was made up of over 300 ISIS fighters who pushed into the area with commercial vehicles, converted it into ad hoc troop carriers, crew-served weapons platforms, and bulldozers. Some of C4's decorations include the Navy Cross, the Bronze Star Medal with Combat V, and the Purple Heart. Lieutenant Commander Landon Jones was born on April 27, 1978 in Lompoc, California. He entered the United States Naval Academy in 1997 as a member of the class of 2001. Upon graduation and commissioning, Landon entered flight school and was designated a naval aviator and naval helicopter pilot in 2003. Throughout his career, Landon accumulated nearly 4,000 flight hours, as well as being selected as CNATRA's Instructor of the Year in 2008. Lieutenant Commander Landon Jones was known as a gifted and dedicated pilot. His operational accomplishments and the lessons he taught to hundreds of naval aviators remain as lasting legacies to his service and sacrifice. On September 22, 2013, Lieutenant Commander Jones and his co-pilot, Chief Warrant Officer 3rd Gibson, landed aboard the USS William P. Lawrence for a quick det hit. Shortly after, a wall of water crashed onto the spinning helicopter, causing the aircraft to break apart, slipping overboard with Lieutenant Commander Jones still inside. His body was never recovered. Lieutenant Commander Jones is survived and missed daily by his wife Teresa and their sons Anthony and Hunter. Hunter was 2 months old when at the time of Lieutenant Commander Jones' accident. He never got a chance to meet his dad before he died. Captain Edmund B. Taylor. Captain Edmund B. Taylor was assigned as the Chief of Staff of Flotilla 2 to Commander Cruiser Destroyer Group 7th Fleet. On May 8, 1972, he was a passenger aboard a helicopter attempting to make a night landing on the fantail of the USS Providence, CLG-6. The helicopter crashed and fell overboard. Captain Taylor was lost in the crash and his remains were never located. He is listed with honor among the missing in action because no remains were found. Commander Bob Holly Hollingsworth. Commander Robert Lee Hollingsworth was born in Vincennes, Indiana in 1932. He was trained as a pilot and stationed at North Island, Coronado, California, along with his wife Nancy and 3 daughters, Elizabeth, Nancy, and Suzanne. During his service in the United States Navy, he flew S-2F jets engaged in anti-submarine tactics. His years of service were from 1952 to 1970. He was killed at age 36 in a plane crash at sea near Naval Air Station Cuby Point, Philippines. Boy Scout Troop 806. Boy Scout Troop 806 would like to thank military members past and present for standing guard over us and protecting our way of life. When the time comes for us to stand a watch, we will be prepared. Cub Scout Pack 122. Cub Scout Pack 122 remembers those who died in service to our country so that we can enjoy those freedoms we hold dear. Today, we honor their sacrifice and memory.
Memorial Day is the time to remember all the men and women that have lost their lives in all the wars over the years to defending this great country of ours. I know a few of you know my story about my father. Quick refresh. This is in 1972, he was killed in a helicopter crash. So this is a special day for me and my siblings. Also, it's a day to remember my good friend Charlie Keating IV, C4. He's a great warrior here with SEAL Team 1 in Coronado and was killed in Afghanistan. I'd like to also thank the VFW Post and all their volunteers in putting on this Memorial Day celebration in these pandemic times. Thank you.
Please stand. Present honors.
Ready, aim, fire. Ready, aim, fire. Present up.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the light and the night up above, through the mountains and the prairies and the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Let us pray. Almighty Father, as we come to the end of this sober celebration on a Memorial Day that we will never forget, May this tribute inspire us to greater sacrifice, born out of love for our neighbor, our community, and our great country. Strengthen us to live up to President Kennedy's call to action, to pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, in order to assure the survival and the success of liberty. Help us to forge ahead with confident resolve, never giving in to fear, for we know that you promise to never leave us, you will guide us if we ask, and you will never give us more than we can bear. In your mighty name I pray these things. Amen.
Military Officers Association of America, the United States Navy League, the Marine Corps League, Coronado Detachment, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States would like to thank the City of Coronado for today's televised Memorial Day ceremony.